Hey guys, Carl from Purple Moose Plays. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the upcoming 18-card skirmish game, Battlecrest, from publisher Button Shy Games and designers Dustin, Dobson, and Milan, Zivkovic. This is the same team that recently brought us Rove, also from Button Shy, which happens to be probably my absolute favorite solo Button Shy game to date. Dustin Dobson is also the designer behind Skulls of Sedlec, another Button Shy game that I really enjoy. So to see the two of them together again on a new game, tackling a skirmish game, which is a sort of genre that I haven't ever really gotten that heavily into, largely also because there's very few soloable skirmish games out there on the market. And now here we go, I see they've created an AI for this skirmish game that not only allows you to play solo, but allows you to play with any character against any other character. So I had to check it out. Meet me down at the table to see how this plays solo, and then meet me back up here to see what I think about the game and to see, does this really work as a solo skirmish game, and how do I feel about the game in general? To set up a solo game of Battlecrest, begin by taking these 6 map cards, face up with the start showing on the front of the cards, shuffle them, and then lay them out in this pattern. Once the map cards have been placed out, this effectively generates a 6x6 grid that the game will be played on, starting up here in the top left corner, counting across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then again down the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. So it's a 6x6 grid that we will be playing on. To continue the setup, we need to choose characters for both ourselves and the AI opponent player. And in the base game, we do have 2 characters. The first is this one here, Akina, the ancient Khazarian god, and Mutiny, the human scrap raider captain. For this playthrough, I am going to be using Mutiny, and I will give the AI Akina. Each character deck is going to come with 6 cards. Every character deck will have the character themselves. Some of them will contain a minion. In this case, Mutiny does have a minion called Rig. And then every character will have one of these health tracker cards, which I'll explain in just a minute. The remaining cards, in this case 3, will be double-sided ability cards that will be how we take our actions in the game. So in this case, because I have a minion, I only have 3 of these ability cards, but you'll see in a second, Akina, who I'm playing against, does not have a minion, so they will actually have 4 of these ability cards. So to continue with setup, we're going to place out our ability cards down here in our playing area. For me, it doesn't matter which order they get placed in. It only matters that the cards are placed showing the start side of the card face up. So I'll go ahead and place these 3 down here like this. And then you'll see on our health tracker card, we're actually going to begin by placing the health tracker to the left, the sort of upper left diagonal from our first ability card. And this card is going to keep track of health by sliding its position along as we take damage. When it reaches this area with the flip symbol, we're going to flip it over, and then it will get placed again to the upper left of our first ability card. And eventually, if it ever makes it to this space here with the skull, that character is eliminated from the game, and the other player is the winner. You'll also notice up here in the top corner, there's this symbol. I'll explain a little bit more about that when I get into how the game plays. But basically what you're going to see here is that when you get down below half health, you are going to get a little bit of a bonus that will boost some of your abilities. So again, we're going to go place that to the top left of our first ability card, showing now that I have 10 health to start the game. Then for the AI character, we'll do exactly the same thing, except the AI character is going to use a deck of what we call command cards that I'll show you in a minute. And those command cards are going to choose which ability the AI uses each turn. So the order of the cards in the abilities deck is going to matter. So first we want to make sure that they all start on their start side. And then we're going to shuffle those before placing them out. So we'll do the same thing we just did for us for the AI player now. And again, their health starts here to the top left of their ability cards. And in this case, they start with 12 health. And you will see, as I mentioned earlier, because they don't have a minion card, they do get 4 ability cards, whereas I only had 3. Next, to complete setup, we're going to take my character card and we're going to place it either in the top left or bottom right, diagonally from the card in either of these positions that has the highest printed number. So this one has a 4 printed on it, and this one has a 2. So my character is going to start right up here in the top left corner, and Akina is going to start down here in the bottom right corner. And then finally, if you use a minion associated with the character, it would either be placed in this position or this position right here to start the game. Finally, because we are playing the solo game, there's also this 6-card command deck. These are double-sided as well. We're going to shuffle these. These are basically going to be the thinking or the AI's strategy in deck form. Again, as they are double-sided, when we shuffle them at the beginning, we should sort of flip them randomly as we're shuffling to get a good mix. They will get flipped again throughout gameplay, but for right now, my command deck is right there. In addition to the command deck, each character, or each imperator, which is what the AI characters are called here, will get a single card connected to whichever character the AI is using at the time. I unfortunately right now with my prototype copy do not have a copy of that card except as a picture. So I'm going to load that picture up here on the screen instead of placing the card out so that you can see what that is. And if we ever refer to it, I can zoom in so that you can see what it says. Having said that, it is worth mentioning here one more time that this is a prototype copy of the game. Everything here is printed on a normal printer and just sleeved with a regular card as the core of the card. So artwork, symbols, things are possibly going to change throughout the campaign. The rules are also still being finalized, so I've gotten the most updated version of the rules, but there are small things here and there that might be changing. For example, you see here on the card, as I've been playing this prototype version for this review, I was contacted and told that this card was being changed. So it's very possible that other things will change slightly through the campaign or between the campaign and when it is finally fulfilled. Now with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our playthrough. I am going to walk you through the sort of basic rules of the game, but I'm not going to explain everything in detail because I think it would be a little bit easier to see the details as we get into the gameplay and see exactly how all of the different things work. But basically, Battlecrest is a head-to-head skirmish game where I, as Mutiny, will be taking on the AI as Akina, trying to eliminate each other. We're going to be taking turns back and forth. On my turn, I have to choose 2 actions from a possible 4 actions, and each of those actions must be different. I can never repeat the same action twice. The first action I can take is the move action. And in order to take the move action, you will see that each of my ability cards has a number up here in the top right corner. That is my movement points for that particular card. So when you take a move action, you're going to look at the number in the top right corner of all of the active cards. And active means, in this case, vertically oriented card. Anytime I activate one of these cards and use it for its ability, I'm going to be rotating at 90 degrees, and therefore that card is no longer active. So when we're calculating our move points, we wouldn't be using any of those rotated cards, only the cards that are vertical. So in this case, my movement value would be 1 plus 3 plus 2 is 6. In addition to that, you will see on some of the location cards bonus icons. I can show you one right now. On this card right here, you can see on this side there's a double movement symbol. What that means is if my card is in this position orthogonally adjacent to that symbol and it's active, which means it's colored in like it is right now, I'm going to receive that bonus. So in this case, if my character was right here where my thumb is, I would be getting an additional 2 movement points for that turn. And then once I've taken advantage of that bonus, whether I use it or not, the card is going to be flipped and you'll see now it's grayed out. So in the next turn or in future turns until this is flipped again, that's no longer activated and I couldn't use it without using this one, which would then flip the card back again. And you'll see there's many different bonuses. For example, in this case, we're going to add 1 attack point when we make an attack, and several other bonuses. I will talk about these 2 in a minute. These are slightly different. Actually, I can talk about this one right now while we're talking about the movement action. Once I've added up my movement points, I'm going to be able to move my character a number of spaces orthogonally up to the number that I've just gotten in movement points. So again, adding all of the numbers on my card plus any bonuses triggered by the location that I might be in. And then I can move that number of spaces. Now, we can never move through a landscape card. We can move through our minion or our teammates, but we can never land directly on top of them. And we can never move through the enemy character card either. Now, I said that we can't move through a landscape card. However, that icon that I just showed you before, and here's another one right here, this is going to be a shortcut icon, which means I can move through this landscape card for free. If I'm in this location only, I can move to this position for one move, or I can move to this position over here for one move, following that icon on the card. And you'll notice that even when this is flipped, those shortcuts are always active. Those never gray out. So all of these cards that have a shortcut means this one here, this one here, this one up here, and this one over here will always have a shortcut activated. And we can always move through that card following the direction of the arrow as a single move point. The next action we can take is simply to rotate one of our cards 90 degrees and use whatever the abilities are printed on the card. Now, because those abilities are going to be sort of detailed, I'll go through all of the cards in just a minute, but then I'll show you how those abilities work as we play through, rather than trying to explain what all of them mean ahead of time. The third action we can take is almost the same as the activate action that I just showed you. Now we are still rotating the card 90 degrees, but instead of taking the abilities, we're simply doing that because when this card is turned in this direction, this symbol right here is active or primed. And these symbols are going to add bonus points to other actions that we're going to take. So we can activate the card using this ability and priming this symbol. Or if we don't want to take that ability, but we want to use that symbol anyway, we can simply prime the card and not take the ability. So that's the third type of action we can do. And remember, we can only do each action type once. So if I activated a card once already, I could take another action to prime a card to set up that symbol for later, or prime a card first so that it's available for my activate action on that same turn. And the fourth and final action we can take is something called a refocus action. And a refocus action is going to take any of these cards that have already been activated and are turned horizontally, flip them to their other side, and then reactivate them so they can be used again. So you'll see that every card is double-sided and has different abilities on either side, and also has different symbols on either side that will allow you to boost other actions. So it's going to be really important to start thinking about different combos we can have based on which side of the card is visible at any given point. One more thing that I should mention before I get further into the game is that I do have this minion, and the minion is going to sort of follow me whatever I choose to do. So if I do a move action, the minion will also do a move action, but the minion is actually going to move based on the printed value right on its own card. And the minion doesn't ever take actions unless it says something special at the bottom of the card that we can activate in some way. But in this case, Rig's only job right now is, as you can see on the card, it says that all enemies within melee range, and I'll explain ranges in just a minute when we talk about attacking, but all enemies in melee range of Rig may not defend. So Rig is basically there to prevent the opponent from defending against my attacks, which is really, really, really cool and really, really powerful. So you'll see how that plays out once we get into gameplay. Now, on the AI's turn, they're going to use this command deck to take their turn. So let's take a look at this top card, because it's not going to matter, because at the start of their turn, they're going to take the top card off into a discard pile, and they're going to follow through with this. So they're always going to move. They move in the same way that we do, meaning that they add up the movement points on their card. However, the Imperator is going to move to a location that has the most bonus icons associated with it. So in this case, we see 2 movement and a shortcut. The shortcut doesn't count, so this space has 2 associated. Here is 2, here is 2, here is 2, here is 1, and there where my minion is also 1. And the Imperator is always going to try and aim for the location that has the most of those active or available at that given time, that they can, of course, reach using their own movement value. Following the same movement of they're allowed to use the shortcuts, they cannot pass through an enemy character, and so on. Once they've decided on possible locations to move, anytime for movement and for anything that the Imperator needs to sort of break a tie, they're always going to use whatever this compass key is showing on this card. So in this turn, they would always be aiming for the leftmost whatever, and then if that's still a tie, they'd be aiming to go up instead of down. So this is how we're going to break ties. So in this case, we've got 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 2 up there. There's lots of places they could go. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movement points, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, they can easily get there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they could easily get there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They can always get to all of these right now. So again, if I was using this card, which I won't be because we'll be moving to the next card on the back, we'd be aiming to go left and up. So the leftmost in this case would be here, so the AI would move there at the start of their turn. Next, they're going to activate whatever it shows down here at the bottom. So in this case, they're going to be activating the leftmost card in their ability row that's available to activate. So if this had already been activated, they would instead choose that card, and so on. And when they activate, they're going to do exactly what it shows on the card. And we'll explain a little bit more about that when we get into it, because I haven't shown you what those abilities are on the card yet. In addition, I mentioned before that some of the cards have these special icons that will boost actions. If the currently showing Imperator card or Command Deck card for the AI has this symbol showing here, they're going to add an additional. This is a wild icon, so they're going to add one more to whatever it is that they're doing on that turn. And then finally, they're going to take the refocus action, which is the one where they reactivate and flip any cards that have already been used. And they're going to do that if the number of remaining active cards is this number or less. So if they had only 2 cards that were still vertical or less, they would then flip and reactivate all of those cards that were not active. So other than that, the only things I have left to show you are the abilities on the cards, which I will show you a few of in just a minute. But also there is one more icon on the map that I said I was going to talk about that I haven't yet. And that is this one right here. This is a hazard. And anytime a character moves into the location with a hazard or is in that location when the card is flipped, they will take 1 point of unblockable damage. And this does not flip the card back over. The only way the card flips back over is if this bonus with the flip icon is used. So you could legitimately go through this space several times, continuing to be hit by that hazard for 1 point of damage every time you go there. And the reason that's important is one of the actions that can be triggered with your ability cards, and the first one you can see on my cards, is this action Force. And Force, you're just going to move the other player's character a number of spaces as printed on this card. So if I move that character into a space with a hazard, they would take damage, and I could legitimately move them out and in from that same space, given that I had enough force to do so. Now you'll see here the symbol is a bow and arrow. That is the ranged symbol. And a ranged symbol means that we're going to count up to 4 spaces orthogonally away, and that's how far this ability can reach. I showed you a melee symbol before. The melee symbol means it's only in one of the 4 orthogonally adjacent spaces that that card can be active. Now, range 4 means anything within range 4. So it could also be a range 2 or a range 3, but it can never be orthogonally adjacent to the card. You can never do a melee action with a ranged symbol. The only other symbol we have for range is the one that you're going to see right here on this card, which looks like a little battle axe. And that's going to be short range. And short range is basically the same thing as melee, except that the diagonals are also included in that range. So again, a force action will allow you to move another player's character. Another action you'll see right here is a star action. And the star action is either going to allow you to trigger the action that's printed directly on the location that you're orthogonally adjacent to, or allow you to activate an ability that's printed on your player card or on your minion's card. And you can only do each of those once per round. So if I had 2 stars, I couldn't activate this twice, but I could activate this and activate the one that's on the landmark card next to me. While we're here, we may as well describe what this one does, because this is another action that could show up on our ability cards as well. and that's the march action. And a march action is exactly the same as a move action, except you're going to move a number of spaces exactly or less than the number that's printed next to the march action. And the nice thing is that because this is activated by either using a location or using an ability card, it doesn't count as your move action for the turn. So you could move and then use an ability that does march to move further. Or potentially, if you have a card that lets you use the star after an attack, you could attack and then move away. Or use the march to march close, attack based on that card, and then use a regular move action to move away. So there's lots of option sort of combining that move and that march action together to get some extra movement in the game. And finally, the last action you're going to see on a card is the attack action. And the attack action is basically just going to be the way that you attack somebody. And the way that works is you check the range, you attack, and you attack for a value of whatever number is printed, plus if you see any of these symbols, and you have any of those symbols active on a card, meaning after you've used that card and it's up here in the top left corner, you can add that number of symbols to that attack. So in this case, if this was already used in a previous round and I was attacking 1 plus red, in this case I would attack for 2 points. And once you've triggered an attack, the enemy is then going to defend. If I'm defending, I get to choose any card that's vertical, means still active, rotate that card, and use whatever the defense value is down here in the right corner to block the attack. Again, some of those defense values might have an icon that goes with them that gets activated based on those symbols in the corner. But again, when I'm defending, I get to choose one card to rotate 90 degrees and use that defense value to lower the amount of damage that I'm getting hit with. Remembering, of course, that those hazard damage cannot be blocked. For the AI, if they ever get attacked, they're again going to discard the top card of this deck, and they're going to check these 2 spots only. This card is going to tell you which card to activate as their defense value, and then this section here is going to tell you to either add or subtract the number to that value to determine their final defense value. It's worth mentioning that this wild symbol does not work for adding to defense. This is only for when they're activating their card and not for defending. For defending, we only pay attention to these 2 spots down here. So again, that's basically all we need to know about how to play the game, aside from that card that I said is going to be put right here. That gives me some fallback information as to how the AI is going to make decisions later on in the game, and we will refer to that as necessary, but we don't need to know that right now getting into the game. All right, so with all of that, let's go ahead and get into the playthrough. I get to go first. We are very far away. My attacks right now, I've got a force plus a star, which could for me give me a ranged attack of X, which is the distance away from me, but the range is 2 plus these gray symbols, and I don't have any gray symbol yet. So I need to be within 2 to hit with that, and only does 2 damage. So that's not great for now. I've got an attack 1 plus red at a range of 3. It gets a little better if I could get close. I've got an attack with a range of 4. And I can move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. But I also know that Rig can only move 3 spaces, and I would love for him to be next to the guy when I attack. But an attack of 2 might get through a defense potentially. So I'm going to take a move action. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movement, and I will move 1, 2, 3, 4. From here I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 6 range. That doesn't help. But I might hang out here anyway and not attack. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to hang out there anyway and not attack. I might get hit big. I could get closer and attack from there. Yeah, why not? I'll do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is my final movement. I'm at range 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to attack using this warning shot, which you can see is attack 2 at range 4. So I'm going to turn that and attack for 2. So we're going to take this AI deck, we're going to get rid of that top card, and we're going to see they're defending with the rightmost plus 0. And in this case, the rightmost card shows 1, and +0 means they're blocking for 1, so I'm going to do 1 damage, sliding that over 1 space. And now it's their turn. So they're going to take that deck again, get rid of the top card. They're going to move, remembering they want to be in a space with 2 or more icons, which means, no, sorry, they want to be in a space with the most icons showing, which right now is 2, 2, 2, and 2. They're prioritizing right and down. So of those 4, the rightmost, which is awesome for me, is up here. Now the reason it's awesome for me, not because they're far away, but because they didn't get placed next to either of the double attack plus actions, which is awesome, because what I didn't say is, we'll see right here, they're going to activate the rightmost card, which right now is this force card, which I'm going to have to explain something in a minute. But what I should mention for the AI player is that range doesn't matter for AI player. The range is only going to help them decide which of the 2 characters they're going to attack. And I just realized I forgot to move Rig, but I'm kind of glad I didn't now because I'm closer to where he is right there. But his range is only going to determine which character he's attacking. So if he's got a melee range or a short range, he'll attack the closest character. And if he's got long range, he'll attack the furthest character. But once he's decided which character he's attacking, he's going to attack regardless of the type of attack that it is. It doesn't matter where they are on the board. So I'm glad that he didn't get one of these double attacks, because those are automatically going to hit, or at least attack. I can block them, of course, but I couldn't avoid them because I'm far away. So that's nice that he chose that one to go to. Now, he's activating this card. And this card says force 2 at a range of 4. Again, the range doesn't matter, it just means he's aiming for the further character, which in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is clearly mutiny, but the AI will only force if there's an active hazard and it's close enough that he can force the character into the hazard to take damage. And in this case, there isn't any active, so he can't do that. So in the case that they can't do that, they are going to take a look at that card right here. And that card is saying, if we look at the bottom, it says a fallback ability. The fallback ability is what the AI is going to do if there's nothing that they can do on their turn based on what they're supposed to do. So in this case, they're going to take an attack 2 melee, which means they're attacking the closer character with an attack 2, which is great for me because Rig, as you can see here, doesn't use cards to defend, it has it printed on the card. So Rig blocks for 2, just got attack for 2, that's a 0 damage, nothing happens. The AI is then going to take a star action, which again, referring to this card right here, says the priority is if there are 2 blue icons showing, which there aren't at the moment, there are only 2 purple icons showing, he would use the Fatebringer that's printed on the card. But in this case, they don't. It says they're going to use the landmark ability. And the landmark ability this time is a March 2. The AI will only use the March ability if it will put them at a location that has more icons than where they are currently, and there aren't any because this card did not get flipped and deactivated yet. So, again, the AI would go back to the fallback ability. However, you can see on the card, it says the fallback ability is maximum once per turn. So in this case, the AI just doesn't do anything with their second action. Now, refocus says 1. So there are currently 2 cards that are still active. There will be no refocus this turn, and it is back to me. So now he's really far away, but I do have a red active, which means this range 3 attack is now a 2, and I can move up to 4. So I could go 1, 2, pass through the shortcut here for 3, which I'm going to do. 1, 2, 3. And I wish that I could get Rig close enough to be within melee range, but I can't. I'm going to get him closer though. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put Rig right there. But that's as close as I can get. So Rig's not helping me right now, but I am going to be attacking 4. 1 plus red, which is a single one right now, so 2. Plus, there's a double attack right here. So I'm doing an attack 4 at range 3. 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh. I'm not close enough. That's not going to work. All right, let me rethink what I'm doing then. I can still do it. I had 4 movement from here. 1, 2, 3. I could move once more. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do this, and I'll show you why in just a minute. I'm going to stay there, and I'm still going to activate that card that I was originally activating. I'm going to stay there for 2 reasons. One, because if we get close to me, then maybe Rig can get close to them. The other reason is this. The first action on here is a star. This is attack 2 at close range, which wouldn't help me because I would have been over here and I wouldn't be close. And this is a force 4, and there's no active hazard, so there's no reason to force them. Yes there is. Sorry. We're redoing that. I am staying here. I am staying here for one very good reason. This is a great spot to be, because I am going to activate this card. I am going to use this star to activate this force 4 because I am adjacent to it. But that's force 4 at melee range. Never mind. He's not melee range. That's useless. I was hoping to force them over 1. Then they'd be in range 3 and be next to Rig. But that's a range. Not a range, sorry. Melee force 4. So never mind. We are going to stay there. I will still activate this. And both of these are going to sort of be the same thing because... no, I can't even reach with this. This is 2 plus gray, but 1, 2 doesn't reach there, and I don't have any gray icons active yet. So my star is going to activate this location ability, which is attack 2, range 4. So we're starting by attacking for 2. Again, we get rid of this top card. We're activating the rightmost card, and we're adding 1. The rightmost card is 0, but plus 1 means they're blocking for 1. So I do 1 more damage. And then the card continues with attack 1 plus red. I do have 1 red active. So I am attacking for 2 again at range 3, which I am within range this time. So same thing, 1 more card gets discarded. Leftmost plus 1. There is only 1 card left. The leftmost, however, is 1 plus... hold on a minute. I got to back up. This was a 0 plus these purple icons, and he does currently have 2 purple icons. So he did block that one, unfortunately. And this one is a 1 plus something plus 1 is 2. So again, blocked. I didn't do any damage that turn. And I did 2 actions, move and activate. So that is the end of my turn for now. Move back into the AI. The AI discards 1 card. They are selecting the leftmost card. But currently there is no leftmost card, which means they're not going to take the activate step because they're all out of cards, which is great for me. So they're going to move following the normal rules. However, you can see here there's a plus 2 movement. They will automatically activate that on their turn. So they have no move here, but they have 2 move from there. So they're going to move 2 to the space with the most icons, which in this case is 1, 2. They're not going to activate any cards because they don't have any. And any number is always going to be more than 0. So they're going to refocus all of their cards. So all of these get flipped over the other direction. Now, this deck has run out. So what's going to happen is we're going to shuffle this. And on their next turn, they're going to flip it over to the other side to show the top card as their next turn. So now it's my turn. The only card I have left is this force 2, which is not great because, I mean, I could force them up 1 so that they're next to Rig, but then what? Then I have a star and I can attack for 2 and do an auto 2 damage because they can't defend. If we look at the other sides of these cards, that's a double star, which does not really help right now. I can attack only... No, I couldn't attack at all because these are both long range. So same thing with this. I could force him up and then attack. That could be good. But these right now wouldn't work because these are both ranged and he's next to me, so that's useless. And the other side of this is a March 3, which would let me move just myself, not Rig. and then I would attack 2. I could hit 2 targets, but in this case, I'm only playing against 1 character, so this doesn't do any good for me now. And this yellow and this red don't help in any way for me. The other side of this card is an attack 3 and a force 3, which is pretty nice to have. So you know what? The question now becomes, do I use this card and refocus everything? Or do I refocus these and then use this card? And right now, since I'm only going to be doing an attack 2, it's not gonna matter either way. So let's just refocus everything. So I'm going to tap this card or rotate this card to do a force 2, means I'm going to force them up here. And then I'm going to trigger this location ability, which is attack 2 at range 4. That's an attack 2, but they're next to Rig, so they can't defend, so that's an automatic 2 damage. And that is the, oh no, that's my first action. The second action then is to refocus. So all of my cards get flipped and reactivated. Now we are going to flip that AI deck, as I said. Move, activate with a bonus, and then refocus if there's 1. There's never going to be 1. They are going to move. In this case, there's a 2 here, a 2 here, and a 2 here. And they're moving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points away. And the compass shows up and left. So up is the first thing, which unfortunately here is the highest spot with 2. So they are going to get a +2 attack this turn, which, ouch. One thing I did forget to mention because we haven't gotten there, and I want to make sure it gets mentioned in case we don't get there. This icon right here is a +1 to range for a regular game. But because the AI doesn't use range to determine range for any reason, this is actually going to be a +1 attack for any ranged attack that the AI takes when it's in that position. All right, so we are activating the rightmost card that the AI has, which is this Ether Storm, which is an attack 2 plus purples. Luckily, we don't have any more purples because it got disappeared. But you're going to see this as a 2 target attack. And he's in this space, or she's in this space that has a double attack. So they're actually doing attack 4 on both of us, which is not very nice. Because that means Rig has a defense 2. Anything that ever gets through to Rig automatically hits. So he's going to flip to the other side. So now if Rig gets hit one more time, they're out of the game. But you can see there's a star ability on Rig that says if they're within short range of me, I can flip them back over and heal them. So that's going to be important. And I'm going to take, again, 4 damage, but I get to block. Right now, all of my cards are 1 because I don't have any of these grays or red symbols active. So I just got to figure out which card I want to get rid of right now. Yeah, I might use this left to fate because I can use some of these other abilities on my turn, and that will let me heal Rig. So I'm going to keep that. Ooh, either of these has a gray, which is going to add to that ability. All right, I'm happy. They both have the same movement, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I'm going to turn this one to block 1. So I still take 1, 2, 3 damage. This card says refocus 1. I just realized that's even worse because this has a bonus icon on it. And this card was a 2+. So they actually did 5 damage this turn. So I'm going to actually take 1 more hit. Nothing changes for Rig. And that is the end of their turn. So now it's my turn. I am going to start by, yes, I'm going to start by using this left to fate card, which is a double star. The first star I'm going to use is flipping Rig. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's 4. All right, Rig can't make it there, so there's no reason to send Rig. All right, so I'm going to use that double. One of them is reactivating Rig, and the other one is I am going to use the printed ability, attack X for range 2 plus the gray icons, which I have 1 of. So I'm range 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'm doing a 3 attack against him. We will pull the next card, which is leftmost -1. Leftmost is a 0 plus blue. There are no blues active, so that's a 0. -1 doesn't mean anything in that case. You can't go below 0. So I'm doing 3 damage. So we've got 1. Then it goes to the flip, which comes over here, 2 and 3. So they're at 5 health. I'm at 6 health. And it's their turn. Again, next card gets dropped. Move, activate, refocus 1, no bonus. They're trying to move to a space that has most icons, which right now we've got 1, 1, 2, 2. So they're aiming for these 2 spots. They can move up to 4 spaces. It's worth mentioning here, I didn't mention it because it hasn't been an issue yet, but when they choose their path to move, they will never move through a hazard space unless there is absolutely no other way for them to get where they're going. And also, if they ever have a priority location they're trying to get to and they can't reach it, they'll get as far as they can unless there's another priority location that's accessible to them. So they're moving 4. Aiming for here or here based on the compass, they want this one down here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, they can't reach there. So they're going to aim for this one, which means 1, 2, 3, and they will stop there. This doesn't get activated now because it's movement. They'll move that on their next turn if they're still there. And they're going to activate the rightmost card, which is a March 2, which right now in priority order, wow, okay, in priority order, I'm guessing then, the compass says down, and I could be wrong in this case. This is where things get a little bit confusing, but the compass says down and to the left, which means they do prefer this space over this space. And they do have a March 2 now. So I'm guessing 1, 2, they will come here. And realistically for their character, that's the better place to be anyway, so I'm going to say that that's what happens. And they're going to attack for 1. Ranged means they're aiming for the further character, which in this case is Rig, which is nice because I won't die. But it means he's going to get hurt or deactivated. But they're going to attack for 1 plus these 2, which is 3. And then that gets flipped because they attacked. Now 3 is a problem because 3 is what needs to hit Rig because he's got 2 defense, so that gets flipped again, which is not great, but it's also not the end of the world. You know what? I just realized on my last turn, I only took 1 action. I did this double card, so I would have refocused on my last turn. So I'm going to do that now. The AI says refocus 1. There is only 1 card left, so they will do that refocus now. And then it is my turn. All right, so I would love to be able to get Rig over there, but Rig moves 3 spaces, and 1, 2, 3 is never going to get him there unless I can force. But at the same time, he wouldn't be recharging anything. I'm at a range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right now, so I can't hit with anything. There are no attack boosts. There is a range boost. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got full, I've got 7 move. I could come over here because that boosts my range. Yeah, I'm going to do this. Look, if I come over here and I use this card to use my ability, which is X attack, where X is the distance from mutiny. That's going to be a ranged 3 attack, so I would be hitting him for 3. And then I would get to do another attack 1 plus red, which there aren't any red right now, but that would still be another attack 1. Although all of the defense now is 1 or 2. So that attack 1 is going to be useless unless I can get Rig down there, and there's no way to get Rig down there. So if I move there, I could force, but that doesn't mean anything. Yeah. The hazards are too far away. I would love to activate this hazard, but there's no great way to do that without using this move, and I don't know that I'm going to need to do that anytime soon. All right, so I'm just going to do what I said I was going to do. I'm going to move. So I will move 1, 2, 3, 4 to get there. Rig gets to move 3, so I might as well. 1, 2, 3 there. Because the next space he's going to go is there. Because there's 2 icons. And there's no any other place with doubles. That's a 1. That's a 0, that's a 1, that's a 1, that's a 1. So he's going to go there next turn. Or she, sorry, is going to go there next turn. So rig is good to be there, but rig is deactivated right now anyway. Is it worth attacking that? Would be a 2 attack this turn, and a 2 attack next turn. Yeah, let me do that. I'm going to actually do this to attack for 2 right now at a range 4, which is fine. Which activates this red icon, because in the next turn I can take this, which will activate that red icon, which makes this an attack 2, and I could reactivate rig with that, which would be an unblockable 2 next turn. So let's see what happens now. I'm attacking for 2. They're going to discard this card, which gives them a defense of 1 plus the leftmost card, which is a 1. So unfortunately they've blocked for 2, so I do no damage this turn. But all right, so let's see what the AI does. We discard the next card. They do have a bonus icon this turn. They're going to refocus if there's 2 or less, which there will be because there's 3 right now. They're going to move. We already know that they're moving to this position. And then they're going to activate the rightmost card. So they're going to be activating this, which is simply an attack 2 at range. So they're aiming for the further character, which is me in this case, which is actually not a bad thing. Because that means rig doesn't get hurt. And I just realized that when I activated, I didn't yet. Okay, that's fine. So that means they're attacking me, because it's ranged, for 2. And I'd love to block it with that card, but I want that star to reactivate rig on the next turn. So I'm not going to block the full amount. Hold on, what's on the other side? Ooh, that's a double star. Double star right now, though, is not going to help me because my star movement is ranged. So I can attack for 2 with that, though. Yeah, you know what? It's worth it. I'm going to block the 2 because I don't want to die. I'm going to block the 2. That's the end of their turn. They do have 2 or less of these, so they are going to refocus those 2 cards. And it's my turn again. I'm going to stay where I am, refocus those as my turn, as my action, sorry, my first action. And keep that there so we remember that it's in the 6th position. Now, I'm going to use the first star to activate rig because it says within short range, so diagonal counts in this case. So rig is reactivated. And then I'm doing a range 4 attack 2, 1, 2, 3 that reaches 2. He can't block because rig is there, so that's an automatic 2 damage. He's down to 3 health. She is down to 3 health. Then AI's turn. Discard a card. They do get a bonus again. Let me double check. That last one didn't have a bonus. No, good. Bonus again. They're refocusing at 1, which isn't going to happen. They're going to take the leftmost card. So this is going to be attack 2, melee, attack 2, short range, both of which are going to hit rig, both of which are going to be 2 attack. The only bonus here is movement. Hold on, I should mention, they're not going to stay where they are. Sorry. They're moving, which means they're flipping that. Means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movement, plus 2 is 9 movement. So they could go anywhere that is open. So now they're looking at icons. That's 1, that's 1, that's 1, that's 1, and that's 1. So it doesn't matter based on the map. There are no double icons. That's interesting. It's just worked out that way because of all of the different shortcuts. But there are no double icons, means they're aiming for left and down, which means this one. So we're going to have to move this out of the way for a minute, but they're actually, unfortunately, going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 to come here. You'll see now that there's a hazard active here, which is not great. But again, they're attacking 2, both against the closest, which is both Rig. Rig blocks 2 both times, so nothing happens from that, which is awesome. Way to absorb damage, Rig. All right, then it's my turn again. Hold on. I activated this in the last turn. That's how I attacked. I just forgot to turn the card. All right, so it's my turn. It's likely that I'm moving. Rig needs to move 1, 2. Ooh, that's perfect. Because of the shortcut here, Rig can go down 1, 2, 3, and be next to that character. Is there any way that I can get some more damage? I can move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No. Force 4. Force does let me push them through me. So if I activated a star, I could push 1, 2, 3 through there. But I don't have any star ability. I could do that. But no. All right. Although I did just realize I did use, it doesn't matter right now because I'm not going to use the defense, but I did use that range a few turns back. All right, so I need to do damage. I could do an attack 3. Moving 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, perfect. 1, 2, 3 puts him next to there, and I can get there. All right, so we're moving. 1, 2, 3, Rig is next to them. I move down 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to use this, which is attack 3 and then force 3, which is actually double cool. It's not going to matter because my attack 3, they have 3 health left, is 2, 1, 0. I win the game, but it's cool because even if I hadn't had enough on that, I've got a force 3, which could do 1, 2, and through the shortcut for 1 final damage from the hazard. So in either way, I have just defeated Akina. This is normally where I talk about the components of the game, but in this case, this is a prototype that's just sleeve pieces of paper, so it's not really fair to me to talk about it, except that I really want to gush about how much I love the artwork in this game. Again, the quality of the art on the cards right now is not really to the level that I can show it to you and say, wow, look how pretty this is, but I've seen images, and I can guarantee, I mean, you can see basically from here, the colors don't pop like they're going to pop, but the illustrations in this game, the life, the sort of character that these locations show. Again, the color's a little bit washed out on these cards, so it's unfortunate, but the artwork in this game is wonderful. Buttonshy has hit a home run with the art on this game. The illustration, the design of the characters is great. I'm a huge fan of the way that this looks. With that said, meet me back up top, and I'll talk a little bit about how I feel about the game. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. I am going to come out right up front and say that this is definitely just a preview. These are only my thoughts about the game that I've seen thus far, right? This is still a prototype copy of the game for the launch of the Kickstarter campaign. It is pretty polished. It is almost there. There might be some small rules twists coming out still, but the more important thing is that I just got this game at the end of last week. I've only had a chance to play it a handful of times, so I can't really give my in-depth thoughts on this game. I can only sort of give my first impressions on what I've seen so far, what I expect to see more of, and how I feel about this game in general. Now, skirmish games are something that I haven't really gotten that much into. Recently, it's been getting pretty popular. You see a lot of card-based skirmish games from level 99 like Exceed. You also see recently Unmatched is a huge skirmish game that's been getting lots and lots of attention. So it's really cool to see a company like Buttonshy that makes these 18-card games be able to come out with an 18-card skirmish game. So the first question was, could that even possibly work? But then also, me as a player, as I said, I don't have much experience with these skirmish games. I did play a lot of head-to-head card game kind of stuff like Magic, but that was 10, 20 years ago, and it's not generally the kind of games that I get into, but it's something I've been curious about with all of these recent skirmish games coming out. But as somebody who plays majority solo, it's not something that I can usually get into because it's generally pretty hard to come up with an AI that has any kind of meaningful decision to it that makes a skirmish game work solo. So here we've got an 18-card skirmish game. Here we've got an 18-card skirmish game that's not only surprising because it's only 18 cards, but also that it's playable solo. And how do I feel? So far, my feelings are very, very good on this one. I'm very excited to see more from this. I really enjoy what I've seen so far. The base game, this prototype copy that I've got, that I've played so far, is only those two characters, Akina and Mutiny. I do very, very, very much enjoy playing Mutiny over Akina, which is why I chose it for this video. Not necessarily because I prefer the way that Mutiny plays. Like, I really like the idea of Akina's abilities to sort of charge up their cards. They've got 4 cards instead of 3, so there's more option to charge up cards for future big effects, right? There's that 4 damage attack. There's some bigger, stronger, heavier hitting cards in that deck. That said, Rig, Mutiny's little minion that follows him around the board and prevents the opponent from blocking, is huge. And while I don't mind it, I think it's a really cool mechanic, and I really love playing with that mechanic. Playing against that mechanic is a little bit less than fun for the most part. If I got into this and I played it a lot and I really learned how characters play and how I can build these big combos and how I can use the different icons on the map to interact and start building towards these bigger combos, then something like Rig might not be that big of a deal, because I can work to eliminate the minion first and then go after Mutiny. And that puzzle is still a fun one, and it's, again, something I might enjoy more as I've had more time to dig into this game. But at face value, jumping right in, Rig is real tough. And what I like is that Mutiny, because of the way that that character works and because of Rig's ability to stop the opponent from blocking, it leads itself to more of a quick thinking, run around the board, shooting and fighting kind of mechanism, rather than Akina, which seems to be more chess-like, meaning more forward-thinking, combo setup, big attack, running around sort of being careful, setting up some big combo, and then again, big attack. And that sort of long-term strategic play is not something I've ever really been good at, but it's really interesting and really cool here that those two characters, again, with only 3 or 4 action cards, yes, double-sided, so 6 or 8 action cards, can feel that much different. And that's part of what's making me so excited about this game, is just how different 6 cards can be from another 6 cards, especially when one of those cards is just the health tracker. So really just 5 cards for your character really makes that character feel unique and really makes that character play in its own special way. And I like that. I was very surprised in a good way and very excited just to see how much there is here in such a small package, right? 6 cards makes the map. 6 cards makes a character. You've got 2 sets of character cards and a map, 18 cards, and it plays like a real strategic skirmish game. Sure, it's not huge. Yes, there's not miniatures all over the map, but I don't care about miniatures. I've never been a huge miniatures guy anyway. So the fact that I could carry this thing in my pocket wherever I go, set it out and have a nice head-to-head battle with a friend of mine would be great. I mean, I am a solo player, but I do get out and play games. And the fact that it's an 18-card game that fits in my pocket makes it even more likely that I could pull it out when I'm out with a friend wherever we are and just play a quick game of this. It's a really, really cool form function, you know, form factor that these button shy games are so small. And again, that I haven't talked about it yet, but this AI, it's not smart. I mean, it's smart enough that it's picking cards, it's setting up combos, and it's more than that. Something that's important to me with an AI, and should be important to a lot of people who play solo games, is that the AI is semi-predictable. They're not completely random. They're random enough that they're doing things that I might not expect, but they're also predictable in the way that I can sort of judge where they're going to go next. So I could set things up where Rig was blocking them or preventing them from blocking by guessing where they were going to go next. There might be two or three options that they might go somewhere different than where I was expecting. But I could pretty much predict where they were going. But I didn't have any real idea about which of the actions they were going to attack me with, although I could see which of the actions they could potentially attack me with. So I had some idea of what was coming. Same thing with the defense. I could see what all of the values were, so I know sort of what the range of possible values were for defense. So if I hit with a 2 and I see that all of their cards are 1s, then it's a good chance that I might get 1 damage through, right? But if I can hit with a 1 and I see that all of their cards are 1s and 2s, then I can't hit them. But I might be able to tap a card or rotate a card so that in the next turn they don't get an action, which happened once in my playthrough. So there's predictability, but also randomness that allows me to deal with them in sort of interesting tactical decisions in my next turn. And I like that balance of, again, predictability and randomness in an AI. And it plays pretty well. I did feel like I had to think about what I was doing. It wasn't that I was just turning cards and playing along. And the same thing with the AI. It did do things that surprised me. It did hit me with that huge attack when it hit 2 targets with that +2 attack on its 1 turn and did a ton of damage. Those kinds of things are really, really cool to see, and I really like the way that the AI plays in this game. So beyond that, again, I haven't really had a chance to dig too far into this game. But the way that the map works with the bonuses on the map, the hazards on the map, I didn't get a chance to use the hazards just because of where they were placed this time. But again, the map is random every time. So it could be that some games I use the hazards a lot, some games I don't. Again, more variability, which is great. But anyway, what I see on the map, the bonuses there, the ability to rotate certain cards and not other cards to give bonuses to other abilities and these sort of combo building long-term strategic options while also having these shorter-term tactical run around the board and activate things options. All of what I see here is very, very interesting. I look forward to diving in more. I cannot wait to see more of the characters that are coming soon. And yeah, I'm very excited about this game. Again, Dustin, Milan are very quickly becoming 2 of my favorite designers. I will continue to watch everything they do, especially now with Button Shy Games. If this is something that's interesting to you, if you like a skirmish game, if you're excited about a portable skirmish game, if you're even more excited about a portable skirmish game that you can play solo, I definitely strongly recommend you check this out on Kickstarter. I will put the link to the Kickstarter down below, so while it's active, please head over and check out the campaign. Pick up a copy or 2 if this is something that you think you might be interested in. Otherwise, I'll see you next time in my next video. If you enjoy what you saw, make sure to like and subscribe below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.